Hello, everyone. My name is Lorena Garcia Wahivi, and I'd like to welcome you to Primary Wave's Industry Hour, a series that will highlight changemakers in the music industry, where we will deep dive into who they are, how they are making a difference, and how we can get involved. 2020 was a tough on many fronts. It was a year that allowed reflection and forced change. We at Primary Wave Music want to be agents of change, and we are committed to creating and supporting racial equality through education, inclusivity, and action, amplifying the power of music and our platform to fight for social justice. We have a powerful lineup joining us for a discussion today on criminal justice reform. Cannabis activist and managing director and founding member of Last Prisoners Project, Mary Bailey, and Michael Thompson, a prison reform activist who served 25 years in a prison for just 3 pounds of cannabis. Up first, Mary will be giving us a background on her industry beginnings and how she became a founding member of Last Prisoners Project. Afterwards, Mary will interview Michael for a deeper look into his experience. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to follow along on social media using @PrimaryWave for more information on future Industry Hour sessions. Now it's my pleasure to introduce and pass the floor to Miss Mary Bailey.
Hi, Lorena. Thank you so much for inviting us to participate today. So as some background, I grew up in the state of Florida. I was raised by an amazing single mother. I began using cannabis in high school, which was actually pretty dangerous at the time because Florida was so incredibly strict about cannabis. It's amazing to see that cannabis is now medically legal in the state of Florida. After I graduated from high school, I decided to go to college in North Florida in the beach town of St. Augustine Beach, where Ponce de Leon's Fountain of Youth is. I eventually moved to Maui, the island of Maui, Hawaii, in my mid-20s, and I've lived here ever since. So I've been out here for about 15 years. Before launching Last Prisoner Project, I worked as an event producer here in Hawaii. I am a people person and I really love bringing people together. And so I, in turn, created a production company called Alpha Agency. I produced many events over the last 15 years here on the island of Maui, including block parties for the mayor's office. I hosted electronic music events. I host Maui Yoga Festival. And then eventually I started hosting Maui Cannabis Conference. I have actually also worked in and around the cannabis industry for 19 years. It's literally been half of my life in the cannabis industry. I feel incredibly lucky that I've not served time behind bars for my work in the industry before it was legal. And after hosting my second cannabis conference, I decided that I wanted to do something to help people who were incarcerated for nonviolent cannabis charges. I reached out to one of the keynote speakers that I had befriended who came out to speak at my cannabis conference. His name is Andrew D'Angelo. And I explained to him on a call that I was really interested in helping cannabis prisoners. And I asked if he could put me in touch with an advocacy group that I could work with. He then explained that he and his brother, Steve D'Angelo, and their mutual friend, Dean Reyes, whose side note is the manager of the band Revolution, he explained to me that they were really interested in founding their own criminal justice reform nonprofit to do this work. And they had little to no bandwidth to do the work and that they needed help. So at that time, I came on board as project manager of Last Prisoner Project, and Steve D'Angelo told me that he would make a few introductions and that I should run with those intros and that the board of directors would follow me. And I feel like the rest is history. And so in a nutshell, LPP works to release cannabis prisoners both at the state and the federal level. We know that helping someone regain their freedom is only half the work. Getting back on your feet with a felony conviction is incredibly difficult. So we've created reentry resources to assist our constituents with grants upon their release. We've also created a family support fund to assist the children of incarcerated prisoners. Last Prisoner Project also has a job board to list employment opportunities for our constituents. We feel that these individuals are the pioneers of this industry, and we want to lower the barriers to entry into the legal industry once they've been released, if they're interested in being in the legal industry, that is. So it really boggles my mind that cannabis is becoming more and more legal across the country. Cannabis has been deemed an essential business during a global crisis, but yet there's still 40,000 people locked behind bars for a plant medicine that's now practically legal across the country. So, we feel that this work is very important, and it's something that many people can relate to. There's so many cannabis supporters um, far and wide, and they're all stepping up to be a part of the work that we do, and we just greatly appreciate it. We as an organization believe that anyone who is able to create wealth in the legal cannabis industry should feel a moral imperative to help those who have been negatively impacted by the criminalization of cannabis. Most of the funding that we have raised to do this work has been coming directly from the cannabis industry. I've built two programs to help raise funds for Last Prisoner Project. One is called Partners for Freedom, and it's directly for cannabis brands and cannabis companies, different levels of corporate incentives for different levels of donations that they make to LPP. The second program is called Roll It Up for Justice. This is specifically for retailers. It's a program for dispensaries where people, when they go to check out in a dispensary, they can donate to Last Prisoner Project. And we're in about 220 dispensaries right now in 25 states. So we're definitely growing that program, and it's a great way to bring in funding to help us do the work that we do. Another big part of what we do is educating the public. It's really important part of the puzzle. There's many people in America who have no idea that there's this many people still incarcerated for cannabis. A lot of people assume that prisoners are released when new states go fully legal, and so it's up to us to educate them and make sure they know that that's not what happens. Automatic releases are very rare, and so it's important for all of us to work towards the release efforts of cannabis prisoners. Educating the public is a very important part of the work that we do. We host awareness campaigns with the help of our incredible celebrity supporters, many of whom come from the music industry. Such as Damian Marley, Stephen Marley, Revolution, Melissa Etheridge, Jim Belushi, members of Cypress Hill, and Willie Nelson, among many others. Although we are a really young organization, there are already many monumental moments in the history of LPP, moments that I will never forget experiencing. The first one that comes to mind is standing in the parking lot of a correctional facility in Florida. It's about 6:30 in the morning, and there's about 30 of us. They're all family members of Richard DeLisi. Richard DeLisi received a 90-year sentence for his work as smuggling cannabis in the state of Florida. And watching him walk out of the gates of that prison with all of us yelling for him. Even there were members of the correctional facility honking their horns as he was walking out. And it was just such a moment. It brings tears to my eyes as I'm talking about it. But working with him has been really, really beautiful thing. And, he was 40 years old when he went in, and he was 72 when he went out. So, it's a lot of work getting back on your feet after an experience like that. Another moment that's really touched my heart doing this work with Last Prisoner Project was witnessing Corvine Cooper be reunited with his two loving daughters, Clear and Scotland Cooper. Corvine and I became friends during my advocacy work for him, and he would often call me. When you're talking to someone who's in prison, you only usually have 10 minutes to talk to them. And I will tell you that Corvine learned how to talk really fast. And we got really close over that time. And he was serving a life sentence for his role in a cannabis offense. And, it's the only way for you to get out if you have a federal life sentence is by getting a commutation from the president. And it's kind of like winning the lottery, actually. And Corvain was lucky enough to be one of those people. And he was released this past January. He was listed on President Trump's last outgoing list of executive commutations, literally on President Trump's very last day in office. So, again, being present, getting to meet Corvain in person and be there when he greeted his daughters was a really special memory for me. A third moment that I'll share with you guys is being able to get to meet Michael Thompson, who you'll meet very soon, after working with him for about a little over a year, maybe a year and a half before he was fully released. I just really got to know him and see what a beautiful soul he is. And getting to go to Michigan and seeing this beautiful house that he was able to purchase with the help of activist Sean King, who helped raise the funds through a GoFundMe campaign that was very successful. Big thanks to Sean. We were able to also raise funds to purchase brand new furniture for his beautiful new home. And it was just such a beautiful moment, getting to help him settle into his new home after being in prison for 25 years for cannabis. I will also say that our initial team of Last Prisoner Project, there initially were just two of us, myself and our executive director, Sarah Gersten. I would say that we are what one of our founders, Steve D'Angelo, would call scrappy. We started the organization with a very small initial donation, and we worked really hard to use those funds in order to do a full analysis of what was needed, and then to raise additional funds to create our clemency and our reentry programs in order to make a positive impact. Funding, of course, is the lifeblood of any nonprofit organization. So we've worked really hard to bring in funding so we can help people, and so we can assist people with grants upon their release, so we can help family members of those who are incarcerated, because most of the people that I work with who are incarcerated, most of them are parents, and now their children are living in single parent households and they need help. So being able to raise funds directly from the cannabis industry, and that funding going to the families of people who are incarcerated for cannabis, it's a really good feeling and it's a really beautiful thing. I was asked the question, how am I able to maintain hope and be able to encourage prisoners when some cases can take years and some cases may not even ever make it to court or resentencing? And when people ask me that, I have to say that I feel it's really important that I take really good care of myself, because nobody can fill from an empty cup. And I have to remind myself and our constituents that miracles really do happen. And this work will get done. We have, as an organization, a lot of supporters, and our team, we're a team of 7 now. We work really hard and we're absolutely passionate about doing this work and helping people regain their much deserved freedom. We feel really strongly that anybody who is in prison for cannabis or has been in prison for cannabis, that they are the pioneers of this industry. And without their bravery coming before, we would not have this legal industry today, this booming $20 billion per year industry that we're seeing today. So it's really important that we help those who have been left behind, and people who are still in prison. We have to make sure that they know they have not been forgotten. There are people on the outside working towards their freedom. And so that's a big part of what we do. I would say the most rewarding part of the work that I do is seeing families be reunited. There's really no feeling like it in the world. And the world can be a really tough place, and we all need positive stories of hope and success to keep us going. So, after that long bio, I would love to introduce my dear friend Michael Thompson. As a little background about Michael, before he was incarcerated, he was, among many things, he was a concert promoter. He worked with troubled youth. And so we will kind of go into a little bit of that in this interview that I do with him. So, hi, Michael. Thank you for joining us for this interview today.
Yeah, it's my honor to be here today. It's my honor.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so happy. And because this is with Primary Wave and they're from the music industry, I thought that we could start the conversation by talking a little bit about what your life was like before you were incarcerated for cannabis. And I would like to hear a little bit about your days being a concert promoter, because you know that your last concert was with my favorite artist, Aretha Franklin.
Yes, yes. But before I become a concert promoter, I was saving young lives. I broke all the gangs up, and that was very important to me, as well as my productions, that I created later on. But the thing is, if I would have never got involved in them gangs, I probably would never went to prison. But I was reading a newspaper, and I seen where them gangs, when the prosecutors trying to get $400,000 for prosecution and conviction of young people. I knew them young people was going to be people of color. So that's when I got in there and got my own money, and I stopped them within 9 to 10 months. I made them come to troops. And so that's where I got the proclamation award dedicated February 26th Unity Day, because of my work with gangs. And I went on with the production thing. And when I got into production, I wanted to get the big names. I really didn't want to mess with too many fallen artists. I wanted to get the major names. And Aretha Franklin was one of my top names that I went at. And it took me a long time to get her. I went to 2 or 3 different states when I tracked her down, and I finally got a date. And so Rita was real good to me. She's the one that got Procter Gamble and Budweiser and all of them, because I did a full orchestra with her, and she had she really hadn't been in Michigan in a long time, and the first time she was in Michigan was I brought her to Flint, and I created some enemies when I did that, like Pine Knob and Fox Theater, and they wanted her, and but I brought her to Flint, and a lot of people didn't think I'd be able to do a market artist in a B market city, and they didn't think I could sell tickets for $40, and I proved them all wrong, because I sold out.
That's right, you did. Well, I want to back up too a little bit. When you're talking about your work with troubled youth in Flint, I remember that you also won, in addition to the Unity Day proclamation, if I remember correctly, you also won an award from the NAACP for your work working with troubled youth. Is that correct?
NAACP Humanitarian Award, and a key to the city of Flint.
That's something to be really proud of, Michael. And, I'm blown away by everything that you did for your community before you were incarcerated for cannabis. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit more of your history with us.
Yeah. Well, I love working with young people. Just like when I was in prison, young people used to come to me because they knew I wouldn't lie to it. They knew I wouldn't lie to them. And that's what I'm all about now, telling the truth. I'm not into being a politician or or even thinking like a politician. My thing is to tell the truth, and hopefully somebody hear me and do something about it. I'm telling you, I did 25 years, and I'm telling you what's wrong. I'm telling you what you can do to help them and help yourself, because it's nothing but blood in the street. And if you wanna stop it, you got to start listening, and I quit doing all them clever speeches and listen.
I hear you, and I agree. So I want to back up a little bit and let's talk about, if you're willing, I'd like you to share a little bit. Could you tell us a little bit about what the trial was like for you and your family, of course?
Well, the trial was like a lynching, you ask me, because ain't no way I supposed to get 42 to 60 years for 3 pounds of marijuana. And then it was basically a white jury. The only black was on there. She was married to a white guy living Grand Blanc. And so I didn't really have a chance, when I went to trial. And then I had a lawyer that was smoking crack, well, freebase, whatever you call it, was smoking crack. So I didn't have a chance. Then after I got convicted, he got found in a crack house. And then they found him in a closet, hiding from the police. And so I didn't have a chance. I was getting hit from both angles. Then this guy, I paid him $40,000, to represent me, and so I didn't get no real representation from him. He was too busy staying up all night smoking crack.
Let's see. Another question I'd like to ask you is, from the time of your trial to the time of your incarceration, what areas were you seeing the most blatant injustice?
Well, from the time I was arrested, because the time I was arrested, there was dirty cops. They were dirty. I mean, they just, and then they lied. See, it's one thing about when you're going through the justice system, you don't have a chance to talk to the judge like the police do. The police can go back chambers and talk to the judge and everything, but you can't do none of that. So the judge got a whole lot of things that's not true that the police is telling her. And so now the same police that arrested me is called Fame, a group called Fame. And 3 of them got in some real serious trouble since I've been in prison. And 2 of them is in prison. And see, so it just, then they sold my property because I wouldn't do what they want me to do. And so they sold my Porsche, they sold my necklace that cost a lot of money. And then they sent me a thing like little yellow round, looked like a Pac-Man face, and put smile on it. Then said that they sold my Porsche for $4,000. And then they said they sold my necklace for I think $1,200. That necklace cost $17,000. And see, so it just I didn't stand a chance. I had a poor lawyer, poor representation, and then I had police officers that was filthy, dirty, and they was talking to the judge, and judge had her mind made up. So there's nothing I can do. And then the judge didn't like my lawyer. She hated my lawyer. And then I assume she hated me too. For me to get a 42 to 60-year sentence for 3 pounds of marijuana.
That's a draconian sentence, and you absolutely did not deserve that. Can you give us a little glimpse into your time in prison? What things were like in there?
Well, you asked me to give you a glimpse of something I did 25 years. So it's so much I can give you. And the things I can tell you to sum it up, make a long story short, there's dirty police in there too. And there's guys in prison that need to be in prison. But there's a whole lot of guys that don't need to be in prison and can do well out here. And also the way it's set up in there for you to come out with hatred. Just like when the washing machine breaks, they don't be in a hurry to get it fixed. And you got to wash your clothes the best way you know how. You got to get them done the best way you know how. And I was behind the walls at Jackson, so I was used to washing my clothes in the toilet stool. So because the way you flush it and rinse it, it rinses good. I know it sounds funny, I know it sounds crazy, but that's reality in prison. And I got them done though. I got them clean. I wore everything clean. And the food is like, it's like a great embarrassment for you to be forced to eat food like that. And it's just the healthcare. The healthcare is very ugly, and they don't care nothing about you. They care less. Look at me now. I'm walking with a cane, and I've been crying for 14 years about my leg and my leg hurting. And I wanted to get an MRI, just see what's going on. They said it costs too much. So I get out of prison, and after a couple of weeks after out of prison, Bob died. Ubate made one phone call and got everything straight for me. And they got my MRI and found out that my bone been rubbing another bone. It just rubbing against it. I ain't got nothing there. After 14 years of crying, I guess not. And so the healthcare said the reason why they wouldn't do the surgery, they wouldn't do anything for me. I think they knew that. I think they knew because they took some x-rays because I think they knew what was going on. But they said it cost too much money for them to give me an MRI. So it's just everything is about money in prison. It's not about showing humanity to another human being. It's not about that. It's about money. How much do it cost? Well, that costs too much. And so all them years of neglecting myself and not getting proper health care, this is what happened to me. So now I got to have surgery on the 18th of this month.
You're getting a hip surgery on the 18th, right?
Yes. I'm getting hip surgery and they said everything, all the pain that I've been experiencing, it'll go away after the hip surgery.
I hope so.
Well, if it don't, at least it'll be better than what it was, because anything better than what it is now.
You know, what I'd like to talk about is I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the George Floyd Memorial that you hosted in prison, because it's such a beautiful thing. I would love for you to share a little bit about what you did for George Floyd while you were in prison.
I love to tell that story because George Floyd's death was a very powerful thing inside the prison. And you don't know, a lot of guys, they written about it. I got them get their thoughts on paper, and I send them to Tana, and the one who wrote The Intercept, and I sent them to her, and she was getting a feel of what they were thinking about George Floyd's death. And so I just wanted to do a memorial to him, to his family. And I just wanted to, I think that we had I forgot how many people we had, but it was a lot of them. There was a lot of prisoners that we fed for free and got them all pops. And you got to understand, pops means a lot to them guys when they get a big meal and a big snack bag and all that. That means a lot to them guys, pop, because some of them guys ain't hit a pop in 30 years. And so I got them all pops. And then the police want to know why, who was buying all these pops for these guys. Then they want to know where did you get all this food from? Why are you giving them to another prisoner? Why are you letting, now why would another human being ask what you giving food to another human being for? You know, why would you want to know what another human being is doing to help another human being? And see, so they come with that. And then all I asked for the guys, I told them, just go back to your cell and stand there for 9 minutes, whatever the seconds was, and just stand there in silence. And that's what they did. That's what all of them done. And it just, you know, if it wasn't for like people like Dee Kirkwood was the sponsor for that George Floyd thing. That's how the real truth is. That's how I got the money to help them others and do that remorse. Because I asked her, did she want to be a sponsor? And she said yes. And see, so that's how that came about. And if it wasn't for her and a team of people that were working with me inside the prison, it could have never happened because it's hard. And it's hard to get guys to write a statement of how they feel. They don't want to write nothing on paper. They don't want to put nothing down on paper. But I convinced them that it'll be all right. And over 50 some guys written statements. That's something unusual. You can ask anybody that be in prison or been in prison. You don't get too many guys to write, but because the respect they had for me and know that I wouldn't set them up and know that I wouldn't do anything against them. And it was beautiful. And see, I was doing that workshop too before this, and it's called Standing in Defense Against Violence. I did a test run. I was going to do it when I got out of prison. I did a test run in there, and them guys really felt it. They really felt, because I told them before you can move any further, you got to wash your heart off. Because if your heart is not washed, you're not going nowhere. Or you're going back to the same old thing. And so you just got to wash your heart off. That's what I was focusing on with them. And they was really getting into it. And this didn't have nothing to do with no certificates. This didn't have nothing to do with no certificate for the pro board. It didn't have nothing to do with anything. It's just come and listen to me. Come and let's talk. Come and sit in our living room and let's talk as brothers, and friends, and fellow prisoners. And that's what happened. Then a couple of them I approached, and while I was speaking, I can tell which ones I can approach on certain things. Something was bothering them, and I approached a couple of young guys and asked them, have you ever been hugged by a father? And I asked them, have you been hugged by a grandfather? And I asked them, have you been hugged by a brother? And when last time you been hugged? He said, it's been a while. I said, get up, stand up, man, and hug me. As whoever you want me to be, a father, a grandfather, whatever, a friend. And I hugged them. And they broke down. And these people, keep in mind now, these is not no punks or nothing like that. They're not no weak guys. These guys are guys that did some horrible things, but they made a mistake. But the thing is, you can hear the cry inside them. And you can hear the cry like, the help I was bringing to them, they wanted it. Because they wouldn't be there. They weren't there for no certificates. They were there because they wanted to hear and feel, and they wanted help. They want some answers to all them voices that's going on inside them. And that's what I was bringing them. I was speaking their language. Because a mother, I was helping their mother, because most of them in there with single parents. and single parents and mother. And what I was doing, I was helping their mother raise their child, because what happened was she was trying to do the best she can, working, and she working, and she's a single parent. She's trying to do the best she can. And so the kids going to the streets, and then eventually penitentiary will become their mother and their father, and which what happened. And that's where I came in. They'll know that prison ain't your mother and father. You know what I'm saying? I would be more your mother and father than prison is. You know what I'm saying? Give me a chance to be something great as your mother or father or brother or sister or grandfather. Give me a chance. And a lot of them was doing that. And then we got a word from the warden. They told us to shut it down. And I said, what? He said, shut it, tell them to shut it down. And we shut it down. Michael Cannon had to go approach him, because I wasn't going to approach him and tell him that. And so he approached him and told him that we got to shut it down, because the warden said that we started an organization in there. I said, it wasn't an organization. We didn't get nothing to do with an organization. And what's so interesting about it, we were breaking bread, and we had a potluck, and we made a bunch of food, and we was breaking bread. And I asked Michael Ken, I said, man, how many guys you think on a salute? When I said, I get on a salute of love. And he told me that he don't think it'd be no more than 4 gonna give me a salute, because for some reason they connected to gangs and different organizations. I said, you think so? He said, yeah, I don't think there'll be no more than 4. And so when we was eating, I said, look, listen, I know y'all belong to a lot of different things. I said, but now I'm gonna salute you. Not with the organization that you are in. I salute you as a man. And you don't have to salute me back if you feel obligated to that different organization that you belong to. And what I did, I touched my heart. I said, from my heart to your heart, I salute you. And they all did it.
I feel like you were absolutely helping those men heal the trauma that they experienced, and that you helped create a support system for them. And that's a really beautiful thing, Michael.
Well, they all did it. So I didn't believe it. So I did it again. And they did it again. But the warden, stopped it. And that right there showed me that they don't want no peace. They want confusion. And when them people go back in the streets, they be confused. That's the reason I say they know the answers to a lot of things going on, because they did studies. They did studies, and 10 years of studies, and they paid $30 million. And they know what the problem is, but they don't want to do anything about it. Now, but what I'm trying to find out is what happened to all that money and all those studies. What happened to it? I thought usually when you're doing studies, usually action come behind when you find out what is this, what solution y'all come to. they ain't said anything. But they did state in the prison newspaper about what the psychiatrists came up with, and it was right on the money. But they won't do anything about it. Why? And one of them, Mary, is, I want to say this. They know that some of the little games they playing, word games like felony murder. You got people in prison for felony murder. Felony murder means that if a person was there during the time this trigger happy buddy went and they did some little job, they were going to try to get a little lick of some money, but this trigger happy buddy just wanted to kill somebody, but they didn't have to. And so because they was there, and people like Horace Peterson, Philo Hunt, they all in prison now, and they did 55, 56 years. And they never killed, they had no intentions of killing anyone. Then you got the people like the guy I mentioned named Michael Cannon, Robert Cannon, wherever you may know him. But he was in a fist fight. He'd been in prison now for a fist fight. It could have went either way. There were no weapons involved. And he'd been in prison for 36 years for a fist fight. Then you got, they don't give you no good time. They're taking your good time away. You have to stay in there longer. They're playing games. No matter what kind of study they come up with, they already studied. They need to give the good time back, but they won't do anything. But they won't give it back to them. And then these is guys that do well out here in society. Then you got the habitual offender, which I fell up under. And they charge you and stack the charges up on you, and then they make you look bad, make you put it on paper, this, that, and you put it on paper, make you look real ugly. Make you look like you're a real career criminal. But the thing is, what they'll do is they stack the charge on you like they did me. They go in my house and find a gun. Because they put the habitual offender on me, they can give me life. Just that quick. Only thing they gotta do is use that word, habitual offender. But they don't give it to, they don't put it on white guys. You know, you'll never, very seldom you hear a white guy got habitual offender. But they put it on me real quick. And then they use it like I'm a habitual offender, like I'm a career criminal. You know, career criminal, but they make you look ugly on paper. Anybody can do that. Just like you, Mary, you can write whatever you want. You feel that you want to make somebody look ugly, you can start writing. You can make them look ugly on paper. And also you can make them look good on paper. So whatever your motive is, wherever your intentions are, you know what I'm saying? That's what's happening. If your intention is to destroy somebody, that's where you do it with a pencil.
I hear you, Michael. It's been quite an experience. I would love to talk a little bit about the work of that Last Prisoner Project. When Last Prisoner Project came into your life and you started working with our organization, if you could tell us a little bit about how that worked with you.
Well, let's see. Last Prisoner Project came and brought about, you know, they helped me breathe, because at the time, me and Dee Dee went to a stumbling block. She went as far as she can go. And then she went and started calling some troopers in, like Last Prisoner Project, you know, she went and got her buddy. And so it just, she said, let me go get some troopers. Let me go get them. I said, go get them, then go get them. So she went and got Last Prison Project. And my thing is that Tanner who wrote Intercept, that brought Sean King in. And see, so with them two powerful troopers, Last Prison Project and Sean King, I mean, I knew I was all right. You know what I'm saying? I knew that because they was fighting. I had two women on my team. Just, I thought they were my woman. You know what I'm saying? It was named Mary Bailey and Sarah Gesson. And they was fighting. I mean, they were fighting. I mean, and I wouldn't want them coming at my ass. You know what I'm saying? Together. You know what I'm saying? Because they some gunslingers. You know what I'm saying? And when they come in, they coming in looking you right in your eye and asking you questions, and they know what to ask you. And they should, both of them should have been lawyers because they both ask you questions that they don't hold no punches. You know what I'm saying? So what I call them two gunslingers. You know what I'm saying? And they did well. And then Sean King he did his thing. You know, and then Chelsea Satuda, she did good because it helped me because I didn't know how to do this fundraising thing after the last president, Sean King, them did their thing, you know what I'm saying? Now it's time for me to get some help for the future. You know what I'm saying? Some GoFundMe money and stuff and get things. And then also last president, you know, they also I made sure I had dollars, you know what I'm saying, for furniture and different things. And they stuck with me to the end. They were like babysitting me, if you ask me. They were like right there, you know, and it wasn't something that was they was obligated to do. It's just something they did out of love, you know, what I'm saying, for what they was doing. And that's what I like about them. They don't have no ulterior motive, you know what I'm saying? Their motive is to get me free. That's what happened.
I'm really glad that you
And
see that, because that is an important part of why we do what we do. Is we just think it's wrong what happened to you, and we want to help support you in any way. We've become quite attached to you, Michael, and we want to see you just have a really beautiful rest of your life.
well, you done that. You did a good job. You all did a good job. From Steve, D'Angelo, to Jocko, and my little buddy, and to Mary Belly, to Sarah Guest. They all, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, all of them didn't chauffeur me. You know what I'm saying? When I first got out, I was like a little kid. I couldn't drive nothing. You know what I'm saying? They showed me everywhere. They was driving me like they my woman. You know what I'm saying? They drive me everywhere. They take me. I had to get in the passenger side. I could never get in the driver's side. And then one day, I finally got in the driver's side with Mary Belly.
I remember that day. I was working with another prisoner family, Rudy Gamo's family, actually loaned me this beautiful Cadillac
Yeah.
SUV while I was in Michigan working on your case. And so I drove, I was driving you around, and finally we decided, I think you're ready. So you got behind that wheel, and I was there when you drove for the first time, and it was beautiful. It was just like no time had gone by. You did such a great job that day.
Well, one thing about it, I didn't feel like I did a great job because you took my 25 years and then now I'm behind this big machine, this big motor. And, hey, it's good you trust me, you know what I'm saying? Because 25 years, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the fear of the unknown is what you scared of, the fear of the unknown.
I did trust you, and I also like to live on the edge a little bit. So I gave you those keys, but you know what? I trusted you. I knew you could do it. I'd spent enough time with you by then. I said, he's got this. So, you look like a boss behind that wheel. You did
well,
great.
well, as you know, Mary, shoot, I didn't know how to crank that car up. You know what I'm saying? So it's just things I had to get familiar with because first I had to learn how to crank it up and little small things that was going on with it that I had to learn how because the technology is, everything. And then where you was navigating, you know what I'm saying? No way you can get lost because you had that little thing, the lady talking to you in that little navigating. So it's just shit, you can go to any city. Now I know why you go to any city and and act like it's yours. You know what I'm saying? You just tell me where you live at. I'll be there in a minute. You know, and stuff like that. You know, that's mind blowing. How technology and went to that level. I mean, wow, can take you anywhere in the world and take you right to their house.
I'm
Wow.
sure that's been really a big thing for you to get used to. Since you've been out just a couple months now, is getting used to all the different technology and things that have changed over the 25 years that you were incarcerated.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of things have changed, you know. But you know, there's a lot of people was telling me that, man, people ain't the same no more. You know, I said, man, and now since I've been out here, I told them that, man, I don't know who you've been meeting, but there's a lot of good people out here. You know, so I just told them, hey, man, I don't believe that's true. I don't believe there's a lot of people that change to the worse. I don't believe that. I believe there's a lot of good people that you just don't see them. But I do, because I get letters from them. I get hundreds of letters, you know, and comments. And then that go from me speak without talking. It speaks without talking. There's a lot of love still out here. And there's a lot of people that truly care.
There's a lot of people that were really touched by your story and your history and wanted to step up to help. We had over 200,000 people email and call Governor Whitmer's office and the Michigan Parole Board. We had celebrities all over the country posting information about your story with a call to action for people to support. So, you got a lot of fans and supporters out in the world, Michael. And now I'm seeing, now that you're out, um, I know that you've got an Instagram account at MT Free 2021, and you've got, I think it's almost 7,000 followers in a really short time. So I know that, some people might want to follow you that are watching this interview right now.
Well, there's one person I want to thank. You know, I already thanked the Attorney General already, and hopefully I get a chance to talk to her again, speak to her about the prison reform. But there's one guy, Montel Williams, that talk show guy. I'd like to really thank him personally, because he fought hard, and this girl named Chelsea Handler, this comedian named Chelsea Handler. I've been really want to thank both of them, because they really went hard for me. They really did. And I was reading everything they was doing, and I was in prison. I was saying, "Go, okay, okay, okay." And Montel Williams didn't hold it up, and no, also Chelsea Handler didn't either.
Yeah, those were two of them. There was also Damian Marley posted about you.
Yeah,
Also Jim Belushi, Melissa Etheridge. There were a lot of people really showing up. One thing I wanted to ask, we're almost running out of time. I wanted to ask you, tell us some of the fun things that you like to do now that you have your freedom. What makes you happy? What do you like to do nowadays?
well, what I would like to do is save another person that, like I got saved. You know what I'm saying? I like for the courts to wake up and do right. You know, I like for the politicians to wake up and do right. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, this ain't no secret, Mary. They know what they're doing, and they know that they playing politics with human life. They know that, and they know that they don't give a damn. They know that too, and I'm telling you, they do not care. And that's the reason why them boys see that, and they see that. And we think they stupid. They see that, you know what I'm saying? They sit there and watch and listen. And you got to understand, when you got the citizens to feel you're a burden on the taxpayers, then you feel that the politicians feel your vote don't count. So the hell with you. So that's the way they looking at it too, Mary. They're looking at it, well, you said the hell with me, well, the hell with you as soon as I get out of here, you know what I'm saying? And you don't give a damn about me, so I don't give a damn about you and anybody that's with you, anybody that you care about. And that's the kind of attitude they're getting. They're getting like nobody cares about them. You know, you broke their families up. Their families, they don't communicate with them. And it just seems like nobody don't love them, don't care nothing about them. I know because that workshop that I did, I can feel them guys. You know, I can feel them, and so that's the reason why I'm telling you. You know, I speak the truth. And the only thing you got to do is listen to somebody. If you don't listen to me, well, once you listen to the blood that's been poured in the streets and constantly poured in the streets every day, and all they doing is speaking. And the only thing you got to do is just listen. Because they speaking in action, not words.
That's right. I want to tell you that I really respect you for many reasons, but I really respect you using your now much deserved freedom to use your platform to advocate for other prisoners. Not everybody would do that. And you want to make a positive impact. And that's a really beautiful thing because that's exactly what you're doing. And I really appreciate you for taking the time to do this interview with me today. I love spending time with you, and I really appreciate you sharing your message with all of the viewers.
It's always an honor to do anything for you and those who fought for me. It's always an honor, and I would never say no.
Thank you, Michael.
We want to give a huge thank you to Mary Bailey and Michael Thompson for that meaningful, very personal, and impactful conversation. Please be sure to check out on social media the Last Prisoners Project at Last Prisoners Project to find out more ways to support. As a reminder, be sure to follow along on our social media channels at Primary Wave to be in the know about other future Industry Hour sessions. We appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, thank you.